One of the first digital pets to ever come to market is the classic Tamagotchi. And while there have been multiple iterations of it, such as Giga Pets and Neopets and so forth, there's nothing like a little nostalgia when it comes to building apps that we grew up with and have loved to see. So today we'll be diving into our very own digital pet creator called Giga-Vue. Hey, what's up everyone? My name is Ben Hong, and I'm a Vue.js core team member and a senior DX engineer at Netlify. And today we're going to be building our own digital pet using Vue 3 and SVGs. So let's dive right in. To get started, we have the repo that's going to live here under the Ben code Zen at Giga-Vue. You can see it's currently empty, and we have the very nice GitHub dark mode that's now enabled on the repo. So I'm very excited that they released that. And so let's go ahead and start by creating our new project. So I'm going to use the Vue CLI to create a new project in the directory. Let me bump this up a little bit. And then yes, we want to create it in the directory. And okay, it has an update, but that's okay, we should be fine. Let's manually select some features. All right, so we want to choose value, yep. So we're gonna want router this time, and I want my CSS preprocessors. So 3x, yes, use history mode, and then node sass. Let's do ESLint and prettier, lint and, I'll do lint and fix and commit. That is nice. Dedicated config files. No, not gonna do that. And let's go ahead and install for us. All right, now that we have that, let's go ahead and open this up in VS Code. So taking a look at our folder structure, it looks like we're good as far as everything here. The only thing is, so we have some images which I started, which I've included in the repo that we'll be using to basically build out the various components of our Giga-Vue app. But it looks like everything else is set up and ready for us to go. So let's just go ahead and start up this application. So I'm going to run this actually in here on the side, just because basically I've run into some issues recently where the VS Code terminal, the error, there's a limitation on how much you can scroll. So for something like this, where sometimes you might have large errors, I like to keep this separate in the terminal. But otherwise, I'll be using the terminal inside of VS Code. All right, so let's go and open this up. So it should be port 80, and there we go. Yep, everything's good. So to get started, let's take a look at the README I've created as a way to see. Oh, it looks like it overrided my README, so we need to open that up and change. Let's see. Do README. All right, I need this requirements that I wrote up already, and then everything else is optional. So here, worry about that later, and then let's just name this properly to Giga-Vue. Okay, so now that that's saved, let's go ahead and commit all of this stuff we have. So add everything, and then we're gonna do, this is a config. I'm not gonna call it config. This is a feature init with Vue 3 repo CLI. And then everything's good, perfect. Oop, clear, all right. Let's hide everything and let's get started. So here at the meeting, we have a couple things we're gonna try to accomplish in this build session, which is we're gonna make sure that one, you can see the Tamagotchi wrapper on the page, so basically the little device that will contain our pet. We wanna be able to initialize the new pet with a name, and we wanna be able to actually see the dinosaur, right, once we've initialized it, and then they'll be able to switch the pet's mood, and then we wanna be able to, if we have time, we're gonna try to customize the Tamagotchi colors. That said, let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing we want to do is, if we take a look at our Explorer here, we have here, okay, so we have the different, so unlike traditional one where I usually work out of app.vue, now you can see we actually have an actual page. You can see here that we actually have the pages here as the routes, and everything will be inside of router view. So for now, I'm just going to leave these styles alone until they get in our way, but we'll be basically editing out of the home. So let's go ahead and hide that and bump. That might be a little too big. All right, let's just stick with this for now. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is actually be able to write to the first requirement we have here is to see the actual, like, the device, the Tamagotchi device. So the way we're going to do that is we are going to create a component within here. So we can say here, so inside of my images, I have this Giga-Vue.svg that we're going to use. So I'm going to copy all of this because what we really, you saw later on that we want to be able to customize it. So while there's nothing stopping people from suddenly just using the image itself, I plan on making this whole thing customizable, and the whole thing is really to, as part of the fun thing with this project, is to play around with SVGs as well, and seeing also just how easy it is to work with SVGs inside of Vue. So here, I'm just going to call this the Giga-Vue device. This is really what it is. So Giga-Vue.vue. That won't be confusing, but we'll figure it out. And then we'll drop this giant SVG on here and save, and then it'll auto format for us. Perfect. And then for now, there is no JavaScript. Let's take that out, and I'll need probably the style shortly. So we'll save that, hide the sidebar, and let's swap out this for Giga-Vue, and then swap this out for Giga-Vue and take out the prop here. So if we save, we should see something. Oh, okay, yep. So this is where we start learning. So go into Giga-Vue. What's going on? So we have a style block in here. So this is causing things to error out. So we can take this stuff out. That's totally fine. Again, like SVG does this as a way of including styles as part of the SVG, but we're in Vue, so we don't need these. We don't need an inline style block. We got our own, very own down here. I'm just gonna add a lang of sass so that we can use that later. Now we save that here. Boom, look at that. We have our Vue themed Giga Pet showing on the screen now, which is super exciting. So let's see, a couple things that are a little, okay, I'm not gonna get too caught up in this right now. So now that we have this, we really don't need this Vue logo. I'm deleting that. And yes, okay, so we have, that was easy. A lot easier than I thought. The only thing actually now, if we resize it, let's see what happens. It's so big. Okay, hold up, this is not good. So before we commit this, I wanna go ahead and let's add at least some style. So we know this class here is here. Since we're in a component, consistent with some of them, especially the more recent build events, you'll see that I'm going to start just using CSS modules right out of the gate. And so if you need additional reference on CSS modules and how they work, I have a video on why I love CSS modules. Be sure to check that out. And so here we're going to have a class. It's going to be I'm going to call it Giga-Vue wrapper. No, this is fine. This is the root SVG anyways. So I am okay just calling it Giga-Vue. So here you'll see now that if I use module do Giga-Vue, actually this is going to break something, but I'm just going to try something like math with 50 pixels to see if something works. And so great, this is good. Of course, everything's breaking here because we have these basically styles here. But so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to call it white in this case. So these are the fills. So I'm going to call that blue, and the other one I'm just going to say green. I'm just going to make them basically little utility classes we're going to use. And so if we do CLS1 now, there is only one of these on the page, you can see from VS Code. So I will bind this polygon with style.white, I believe is the right one. There we go, that's good. And then we have CLS2 here. How many do we have of those? We have one of these as well. So I might actually want to change the class names on this in the future, but this will be the blue. Whoops, that's blue. There we go. And then our last one here is CLS3, which will be style dot, what did I say, green? All right, green. Okay, our Tamagotchi is coming back to life. So now what I want to do though, is switch up the max width. So 100% is fine, but I think what I need though, oh no, actually I really don't want to do that. I think I'm just going to do max width. Let's do 500 pixels. Let's see how big that is. Because really what I want is just sit center on the screen the entire time. So we go here. Yeah, okay, this is pretty good. It's a little obnoxious on mobile, not gonna lie. So let's bump it a little bit. And then, yeah, okay, that way it's a little bit better. And then we can eventually add styles in the future. Okay, so with that, we actually now have our Giga-Vue device ready to go. I'm a fan of micro commits, so that's what we're gonna do. So we swap that out. So feature add Giga-Vue to page. And then while we're at it, we have, whoa, what just happened? Okay, great. Couple of things. I'm actually just gonna go ahead and delete some of this boilerplate as a quick refactor, since otherwise it's just gonna clog up our pipelines. So there we go. Tick status. Great. Then refactor, remove boilerplate files. Okay. All right, how are we doing on time? Okay, we're doing all right. So the next thing we want to do now in our README, so I keep forgetting to update this first actually, but I'll just remember to do it now. Docs complete first requirement. Okay, cool. The next thing we want to initialize a new pet with a name. So basically we need to then say there's going to be a pet basically that exists within Giga-Vue that we can start a new one as well. So for now with Giga-Vue, this is going to contain the device itself, but we can envision that the larger page itself actually needs to track things. For now, what I'm going to do is let's switch up this script. Oh, sorry, let me hide things so people can see things. Let's switch up the script block to the top right now. And what I want to do here is then this is where we're going to initialize things. So theoretically, there will be a button for a new pet, and then we'll need to give the pet a name. So here, text label pet name. So here we go, pet name. And then the ID is pet name. That's good. And then we have the new pet button here. So we save, this should appear not quite on the bottom. So let's just wrap this in its, basically this is a form at this point. So here we go. And then I think we need to, all right, so if I save that now, great. So test, this will actually submit the form. I don't want it to submit a form, so I believe we should do submit.prevent. I think will be good enough here. So test, click, nothing happening. Great. So we have our form here, pretty straightforward, nothing too crazy. And the only thing we need now is to go ahead and keep track of it. So again, let's go ahead and keep at the composition API practice. So we have our setup method, and we're gonna import, so let's see, let's import reactive from Vue. And so const state equals reactive. And so inside this object, I want to go ahead and say pet name and just be like, for now, we'll just call it, actually, it'll be an empty string. That's totally fine. And then we'll also need two refs because I'm a fan of destructuring my reactive objects. So two refs state, that should expose everything. So now what we can do here theoretically is I could probably say, I'll just give the h1 of pet name. And then here we'll vmodel into pet name. And then, yep, okay, so the thing is here, if we refresh, great, that's updating. But I realized though now we might not actually want to, we don't want to actually update the pet name until it's submitted. So I realized this is not quite accurate. What we want is user input for now. I think we'll just keep that name simple. So pet name will go up here. This will be user input. And then upon, so a selection basically, when they click on this, be like create pet is basically what's happening here. So we have our method create pet, which is a function. And then it will go ahead and take state pet name, and it will assign that a state dot user input, just like that. And so create pet just needs to be returned now. So when we save here, great, and refresh, we'll see now that if I do show you and click new pet, it actually registers, and now we've initialized basically this new pet. And it's super simple right now as far as like, we're just going to have an object that's tracking the pet's name. But eventually, as you can probably envision, we'll be doing some more complex things. But this way, it's a good place to start. And then to be honest, what we should do is go state.userInput. Actually, that can keep, for now, I think we're going to, I know what we can do. We can do show pet, create pet form as true. And then, so the reason I'm saying this is once you've created the pet, then you really don't want it to show up anymore. At least I'm just going to go with that for now, because obviously there will probably be like instances where you want, like in the future, we would want to be able to let them actually So in the future, we'd actually want to be able to let them actually edit the form. So for now, we're just going to keep it simple though, so that once you create it, it's in. So again, if I do something like Destinio, I save, great, that it's gone now, and we've initialized a new pet. Albeit not very interesting, but we have a pet. So this is good. The only other thing I'd want to do just for user entry piece, let me just make sure to see if this works. So if I do diamond, enter, great, that works already. So I don't need to, for instance, first I thought I might need to do like a key up enter registry on the, but since we're within the form, I think we're pulling some native HTML functionality so that it just works. So with that, we have enough to initialize a new pet, and we will increase complexity over time. So the feature is an ability to scaffold, to create a new pet. All right. And so the other thing now is that once they've created a new pet, this is where we can basically show the actual dinosaur. And so if we look inside of the sidebar, let's go ahead. I'm going to pull the Dino Happy SVG, and we're going to go ahead and just create. This will be tricky now. Let's see. All right. I think again we're going to go simple, so I'm just going to call it dinopet.view, and then we're going to come in here and drop the SVG that we just pulled. This is big. I might need to optimize this in the future, but dinopet SVG, I think this is going to be right. So theoretically then we would say that we can show the dinopet. So let's go inside of here and let's just see if we can get it to show up. So import dinopet from components/dinopet.view, import dinopet, and then it's got a lot of things that it doesn't like, which is interesting, but again, I'm not going to worry too much about it. I think I'm putting it in the wrong place, but okay, great. We have the dinopet and it's appearing. Theoretically, we're going to need to start figuring out how to position things. In this case, I might do something like let's see. For now, let's give this a section. Let's see, section, great. Drop these two in here. And then the reason why I'm doing this is I'll call it class wrapper for now. And then for our style, for wrapper, it'll be just position relative. And the reason I'm doing this is because in here, theoretically, let me make sure this works, is dinopet. This is called dinopet, its own class. And dinopet here will be max width 50 pixels, save. And great, it worked. So if I do position absolute, and we can go left 0, top 0, this is going to be wrong because it's going to bump it, I think, all the way to the top. Great. And then now we can do something like I think this would work. Transform, translate X 50%, translate Y 50%. And so that does, oh, I think because it's doing it by the width. Never mind. Okay, we'll deal with that in a second. So let's just hard code it for now. So 50 pixels. Wow, it's going to be like 200. Oh, that's 2000. I cannot type. All right, great. Let's make this a little bit bigger. Great. Top 100 pixels as well. Almost there. Epic. Left a little bit more, a little bit less. Perfect. And let's bump this down a little bit so it fits in the screen. 220, 210, and 250. There we go, we got it. So dinopet is in here, and for now, I'm gonna do this. Let's just do our modules as I described before. So everything is broken, that makes sense. Because here is where we're gonna bind now our class. Actually, I theoretically could multi-cursor this because there's nothing special about each one. They are just, this is the benefit of having the one word style. Great, everything's good. And so in this case, what we really want is we only want to show this if pet name is true, because otherwise it really shouldn't show. So we do Neo, enter, boom, we see our new dinosaur. And that's that. So let's go ahead and add that functionality so they can see it now when they create it. And then let's see, feature, user can see pet. Perfect. All right, now, since we have something basic that's up and running and for people to play around with, I think we should go ahead and just deploy this. Maybe the last thing to do actually on the home page is to put an H1 on here that actually has our, yeah, so it's an H1 right now. Let's do oh, you know what we're gonna do? So it'll say Giga Pet or Giga-Vue, and then save, and then if it is like this, okay, so we want Giga-Vue to be the H1, this makes sense. Then the pet name, what we'll do is we'll add it as an H2 to be below the Tamagotchi. So again, if we test it out now, Neo, enter, boom, we got it. All right, let's commit that real quick. Feature, add page title, great. All right, so now let's go ahead and deploy this. I'll be using the Netlify CLI for this. So it'll be NTL init. So Netlify basically init new project. And I realize this is gonna be a little bit small, so I'm gonna bump it over to full screen here. So clear, do we have any of the files? Why is it git ignore? Why is it, oh, got it, okay. We'll take care of that in a second. All right, so let me clear, bump this up a little bit, and then so NTL init, and then we'll configure a new site inside of Ben's team, and then the site name will be called Giga-Vue, and then yep, so it'll be yarn build. It should be dist. Oh, directly to deploy. Yep, or shoot, I messed that up. NPL init. Did they already create it? All right, yarn build. Yep. Yes. See if this works. Awesome. Okay, so now if I do net or NTL open or Netlify open, we should see now that inside of our page here, we have site deploy failed. Probably because I configured something. So here, that was on me. Deploy settings, yeah, publish directory here. I messed that up. It should be dist. Save. And then if we look at the domain, let's see, is it triggering? Let's go ahead and deploy. Sorry, deploys, trigger deploy, go. While it's doing that, we're gonna go ahead and check the domain real quick. Giga-Vue.netlify.app, perfect. I already did that, renamed it for me. Yarn build command failed. That's not good. Package, JSON. Oh, I get it. I have not pushed my code yet. So net NTL config Netlify. Great. Push origin main. There we go. So now if I refresh, we should see now that a deploy is in progress, which is one of the great things that Netlify gets for us is basically it watches our GitHub repo like it's a reactive data piece and then just does things as we want. So now we could go ahead and click preview. We'll see that we have it here, and then boom, it works, and we have deployed our site and everything looks good. That's a wrap. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out other Building with Ben series as we build other apps from scratch so you can see it from the ground up. And as always, if you have any other topics or questions that you have, be sure to leave them in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.